Hello everyone, and welcome to this session that is focused on how to get started with Mentimeter. I'm Maja, and I work with product here at Mentimeter, and among my responsibilities is to make it as easy as possible to get started with Mentimeter, which is why I'm here today. So with me, I have Niklas, who's the product at Mentimeter, and he'll be ready in the chat to answer any of your questions. And you find the chat window in the same window as this webinar. And for you who are not familiar with Mentimeter, we are a interaction. We are used by over 6 million users in 55 countries. And among our customers, you find consultants, business leaders, teachers, event managers, basically anyone who wants to interact with their audience. So for this session, it will come in handy if you have your smartphones nearby, because we will use them both to go through some questions for you to interact with us during this presentation. So over to the agenda. So right now we're having a little introduction where I'm telling you what's going to. I will then go through our most popular question types, followed by how to create those questions and also how to create quick slides, which is a new feature that we released last week. Then to more advanced question types. And I know this is a beginner's guide, but they're not so difficult to create and vote on. They are just a bit more advanced, but not difficult. I will have different presentation settings that can be good depending on what type of presentations you want to make. And I will finish this up with a Q&A session. And as I said, you can ask questions to Niklas, but we will also have a session for that in the end. And some practical info. Once again, have your smartphone ready because I will ask you to answer some questions during the webinar. You can communicate with Niklas in the chat. And this webinar is being recorded, and you will get a link to the replay after the webinar is finished. So no need to take notes or stress out that you won't remember what I said, because it will be available afterwards. Okay, so now I will show you the dashboard. So this is where all your presentations are stored. I'm sure you have seen this yourselves if you already registered to Mentimeter. The presentations that you've created. And this button is for creating a new presentation. So you just give it a fancy name and then click on Create Presentation. But TV Chef, I have already created my presentation for today. So I'm going to go ahead and show that presentation to you. Okay, so as I said, I'm going to start with our most popular. So this is the presentation, and you can see now that up here there is a top bar with instructions that says go to menti.com and use the code 4936. And this is how you vote and interact on my presentation. So I will start with a little icebreaker just to get you started with using Mentimeter. And if you have connected now on menti.com that you see on the screen, you can actually press the reactions in your phone to say that you are ready. And you can press them a lot of times because then it becomes even more fun. So I see that some of you are ready, at least. So if you haven't done that already, you can use your smartphone and go to www.menti.com and use the code on the screen. That's 3651. And you can also see that if you change, you can change what reaction you send and so on. So this is new features, and it's really fun just to just as an icebreaker, as I'm using it now, to have everyone connected to the menti.com site and so on. So I will move on to my first question, which is a multiple choice question. It's a very common question type that you probably recognize from surveys or anything. So this is some options and you select one of them. And I've used this question, have you voted with Mentimeter before? Just so that I can understand how much you have used Mentimeter before. And that way I can decide how thorough I will be in my explanations. And I can also click on those charts, or at least I'm supposed to click on those charts, see the results in percentage instead. And I have some other funny functions that I can use on this presentation view, as I call it. So you see the little setting down in the left-hand corner. That's presentation settings that you can use during your presentation. So I'm going to show some of those. For example, we have hide results. And this means that all results are hidden. And this is very, very practical if you, for example, want to avoid bias when you ask your question, so that you don't see like what the first answered. And I can go back here to show the results again. I can close the voting. That means that you cannot vote on the question anymore. And yeah, that's basically what I wanted to show you now. And for the next question, I will actually hide the results straight away. This is a word cloud. And, I'm asking, for what occasion do you plan to use Mentimeter? Maybe for lectures or for workshops. I don't know. It's please reply with only one word, and I can use this for adapting my message in this presentation. So I will go ahead and show the results so that we can see the webinar. Sorry, the word showing up. So quite a lot of people have chosen workshop, and that is great because Mentimeter is a really good workshop tool. Great, so it's a bit of everything. We have party and welcome sessions as well. So let's say it's spread. Okay, perfect. I will go ahead to the next question. I will show you a very, very popular question type that is called the quiz. And this is a competition, and it means that you will compete with each other. So you just enter your name and in the phone and then get ready. And if you haven't connected already, please go to menti.com and use the code 493651 to participate. So I have 20 participants already. Gonna wait for a few more before I start the countdown. So if you haven't already, please go to menti.com and use the code 4936. So for the quiz, you will have a limited time to answer the questions. And just so you know, there is some delay in the webinar software. So you will actually see the phone before you hear me explain it. But no worries, it's just answer as fast as you can and the rest will be just fine. Okay, I will start the countdown now. So have a look at your phone for the options and vote as fast as you can. So now that everyone has voted, we will see the results. And it's actually the eagle that is the strongest animal. And unfortunately, none of you got that correct. But yeah, let's not dwell on that. We'll just go to the next question. And same thing again. Now when I see that everyone is ready. Let's go. So look in your phone for the options. Now Nicholas is just adjusting my microphone, if that made any noise on your computers. 9, 8, 7, 6. Everyone has voted. The national animal of Scotland is actually the unicorn. I just found that out earlier today, so I'm as surprised as you are. So now I'm going to go ahead and show them to see how we are. Okay, so the one with nickname the best is in the lead, and then we have Karin and Linnea and love site emoji, and then Mike. Okay, and we have one last quiz question to determine the final winner. Here we go. I will start the countdown. Last question. A group of unicorn is known as a something something. Two, one, and the time is up. It's a blessing of unicorns. It's actually a pride of lions. So I will show the final winner, and it's Linnea. Congratulations, everyone. So that's the quiz. It's for just energizing any audience. It's a bit playful, but you can still use it for more, like this was really just trivia questions, but you can use it to check people have learned, for example, after a workshop, if they understood all the takeaways that you wanted, and so on. Okay, so now I will move on. Scales question, and I will hide the results. So this is, what are your thoughts so far related to this webinar? Do you learn new things? Do you get inspired? And do you want to so this type of question can actually help me to set the correct level of difficulty. I mean, if none of you learn new things, I need to adapt that for the rest of the webinar. So we'll go now. Oh, wow, that's great. So most of you learn new things and want to know more and get inspired. That is really great to hear. So I will show you what you can do. Question is that you see the weighted average are those numbers, but then you can also see the individual responses if you hover over those, which is great, because then if there are, for example, a lot of people, yeah, now there were a lot of people that learned new things, but somewhere in the middle. I will try to speak louder, that Nicholas told me. So I will move on to the next slide, and it says how to create the questions. Multiple choice, word cloud, quiz, and scales. Okay, so now I will move back to this presentation view menu, and you see there are some navigation buttons here in the bottom. It's home and it's edit, so I will go ahead and click on it. So this is the editor. This is where you create and edit your presentations in Mentimeter. Over here on the left side, you have an overview over all your slides. Here in the middle is a preview of what the presentation looks like or what the slide looks like. And here on the right is where you create and edit your content. So I here can write an exclamation mark. For example, I could choose what reactions to put on my slide, like if I wanted to give a thumbs up as well. And I can also the type of the slide. Now I have some results because you have sent reactions to this slide, and that means that I cannot change the type because then I would lose all the results. So when you want to create a new slide, you press the little plus here at the bottom of the overview, and then you get to choose a type. And when you those icons, you can actually see what the question looks like to help you choose what question type you want. So for example, for my first multiple choice question, I chose a multiple choice. And have you voted with Mentimeter before? Yes. No. No. Also, add options here. Just press the add, and you can remove them like this. And here you can drag your question or slide and move it up and down wherever you want to put it. And now I got some results as well. It's really great. But I will go ahead and delete this question again because I already asked it. So you have this little trash can icon over here, and I will delete the slide. So now I will, so that was the multiple choice that we had here. Then we had a word cloud question. Cloud is very easy to create. You just ask your question. And you might have noticed that when you voted on this question, it said keep it short in your phone, but that's actually not shown in the presentation. And the optional description that is only shown in your audience's phone. You can choose how many entries everyone can submit. So I asked you for just one entry. And for example, especially if you're using this for education, you might want to use a profanity filter. We have a couple of different languages so that you can sort out improper words. Okay, so let's see the quiz question. So it's basically similar to the multiple choice because you have a question and you have some options that you can create and add new ones. You can read up on the game rules. And then you can choose what option is correct and incorrect. So I will actually go ahead and duplicate this slide. And that's what the other little icon, the trash icon, is for. So I'll duplicate the slide just so I have one without results. And then I can show you that I can choose what options are correct. So I can set all of it, but the participants, that is you can still only pick one option on the quiz. So yeah, the quiz is a bit special since you can choose what answer is correct and use it for, I think it's really fun and energizing. And then the scales question, which was the last one in this section. I entered a heading. What are your thoughts so far? And some statements to see, so I can evaluate this session so far. You can change the low and high value, and you can also add labels for degree and degree. You can also, for example, use low and high. Okay, so here we were. Go ahead and press present again to show you the presentation. So this is where you click to start up your presentation to make everyone start voting. It's the present button up in the right corner. We've already seen this one, so let's continue. Okay, so now it's time for more advanced question types. And we got some reactions. That's great. Yeah. I'll go ahead here. So this is a 2x2 matrix. It might look a bit complex at first, but it's really just about rating things on 2 scales instead of 1. Now that you pick up your devices again, you should be able to already see my question, but if you have gone to another page maybe, or maybe there are some new people who are connected, you can go to menti.com and use the code 493651 to vote on this question. So here I've chosen to just ask about the question types that you've already seen and used to see what your impressions are related to them. And another very, very common use case for this matrix is, for example, to use impact versus effort, which helps in decisions about what actions to take. Okay, now I got some votes. So let's see. Seems like most questions are both fun and useful. And I can actually, for the number 2 here, we have the word cloud, the red bubble. And if I hover this, I can actually see the individual votes and not only the average for this question. So then you can see if it seems like everyone agrees or if there are a lot of discrepancies in the group. And I will now move on to the last that I will show you, and that is 100 points. So this question is actually based on the $100 method, where you have a limited number of resources to spend, but you have many different areas to put it, and you don't really know what to focus on. So therefore, this question is really, really great for priority. And here I use it to see what you want to learn more about. So I'd like you to use your points to let me know what you'd like me to focus on for the rest. I also added the other option if you just want me to speed things up and get to the Q&A session as soon as possible. So I'm going to show the results now, because you can see that the option will always be shown on top. So we see that different settings and Mentimeter is something that you would like to learn more about. That's great. Let's see if inspiration for questions to will surpass. No, they stay on 21% each. Now 22. Okay, now you see that they change order when one becomes more popular than another. Okay, I'm moving on now. So how to create the questions. You remember what we did before. It's this settings menu. I click on edit to get to editor. And just as before, I have my overview with the different slides here. I have a preview of my current slide. And I have this section where I can change the content, the type. So how did I create those questions? We started with the 2x2 matrix, and I hope at least that you have easy to vote on. It looks a bit complicated right here because there are a lot of different options that you can use. But I just added a heading, what do you think types, and then I added the different question types as items that you can rate. And here on dimensions, I had fun axis and useful as a horizontal axis. So as I mentioned, for example, you can use impact versus effort for this one. It's just try to have dimensions that don't coincide, but they don't say the same thing. Otherwise, you're fine. And as I said, there are a lot of different options here, but just focus on heading and the items. And I would also use names for the axis so that the audience knows what to rate, basically. And then for the 100 points question, 2x2 matrix looked a bit complicated. This one is on the other hand, very, very easy. It's basically like a multiple choice question. You write your question and you enter that your audience can prioritize. So this question type is really good to use when you have a lot of options, but difficult to decide what to focus on. Okay, now I will go back to the presentation. So now I wonder if you recognize this image. If it doesn't show up in your phones, you should make sure to go to menti.com and use the code 493651. So I think you'll all recognize this image by now because it shows up in your phone when you have responded to one of my questions before I have showed the next question. And this is actually the default setting. And it means that I, as the presenter, can choose what questions you can answer just by having it open in my presentation. And if I move back and forth between questions, you get another, I've moved to the next question and you have the option to follow. So this is really, really great for presentations and for keeping focus on the topic that I'm currently talking about. However, there are this where you would like the audience to move through the presentation in their own pace. For example, if you're making a survey. And I will just show you how to make this change. Back into the editor. So this presentation settings, presentation view settings, and then edit. So up here, we have some icons that I haven't talked about before. Have, for example, themes that you can change the look of your presentation. So this is what it looks like when I click on that. And I also have this little cogwheel with the presentation settings. So this is what I was discussing. And right now I can't change it because I can't use it with quiz questions in the presentation. But if you want to make a survey instead, you would choose audience space in this settings menu. And for this other setting over here, let audience download results. See what this means at the end of this presentation when you'll get the chance to enter your email to actually download the results from this presentation, since I have this on. So basically, this means that you get the results as screenshots after the presentation. Okay, let's see. It's actually what I wanted to say here. So this is just another type of quick slide. It's a quick slide with image that I've used to upload this one. And if I go back to the content tab, you see that I have just an image caption. I added some reactions because I wanted to see, like, for example, the question mark to see if everything thumbs up or down, and a cat just for fun. So I will go back into the presentation because right now I think it's time for questions and answers. And I want you to ask your questions to me through Mentimeter. So if you haven't already, please go to menti.com and use the code 493651. And while you're typing your questions, and please remember you can type as many questions as you'd like. It's just like if you press submit, you can enter your next question. And I will go to my dashboard in the meantime to show you some useful links. So I'm back here again where I'm started. I have all my presentations here. I have the button to create a new presentation. I also have some other things here in the menu that I would just like to show you real quickly. So for example, if you don't really know what to ask your audience, you want some suggestions of questions, you can go to examples. And we have some different categories. I saw that some of you were planning on using Mentimeter for education. So we have education here and some examples that you can just click on add to your presentations to add to your account. And under help, you can find inspiration as well, also depending on if you're using it for example, workshops or education. There are a lot of guides that can help you get started with Mentimeter, both related to types, but also other settings. We also have a how-to page. Yes, so I will go back and see if there are any questions here. Okay, so what is the max questions we can ask in a questionnaire? So with a free account with Mentimeter, you can ask 2 questions of any question type or 5 quiz questions. If you're on one of our paid plans, you can ask as many questions as you'd like. Are there resources in French? Malheureusement, no. There are no resources in we'll see when we translate the service. Is there a way to retrieve the results from questions or polls after the presentation? Or yes, there are. As long as you don't do anything with your presentation, the results will always be there. You can also export to Excel if you are on one of the paid plans. Yes. Can you delete the result? Yes, you can delete the result. You can do it right here in the presentation if you want. You can clear the results for this question right now because I want to keep your questions. And also, if I go back to the editor, I can actually delete the results here as well. So you have a couple of options for doing that. Here we have maximum number of people in audience. Actually, we have no limitation on this. So even if you are on a free account, you can free to ask questions to any big audience. 10,000 is no problem. How many can vote is the same question. How do you incorporate your own in the presentation? I will just go ahead and show you that real quickly. So I go back to this page where I started. So there is this thing called branding that is that you can use if you're on a pro account. And then you can actually create a new theme for your organization. And so here you have the button upload logo. So then you can upload your company's logo. You can also change the background color, add an image, and change the bar colors so that it looks, yeah, so it matches the logo type and looks like your company's graphical profile. Use Mentimeter PowerPoint plugin or prefer to switch between web and PowerPoint, and why? I prefer to switch between the web and PowerPoint because I think it's really convenient, and it's just easier to not have a lot of integrations and not needing a Office 365 account to download the plugin. Let's see, can answers from the polls or questions be exported as a report? Yes, I will actually go ahead and show you how to do that. So back to the dashboard again. Now I can see that for this presentation that I just had that I called Beginner's Guide to Mentimeter Presentation, clear name, I have a little icon here with export results where I can actually download the results as an Excel sheet. So I hope you followed. Then the little download icon, and I can export the results to Excel. This was awesome, Maja and Niklas. Thank you very much. That's great to hear. Are you planning to be free of charge? Yes, at the moment we're planning to keep Mentimeter free of charge. You have, the easy answer is keep to that one. Can you hide the number of people voting? Right now you can't, but feel free to suggest like any missing features or you would like to see in Mentimeter. You can just contact us and suggest. Have you got an app? Well, yes, we do. But it's basically the same experience as you have if you go to menti.com in the browser. So I would recommend to stick to the browser because it's what we prefer. Okay, so if you don't have any more questions, or do we have something from the chat maybe, Niklas?
No, everything has been covered.
Everything has been covered? Perfect. I just have one little last optional question for you, and that is, what would you like our next webinar to be about? So you can actually just, if you'd like, enter suggestions. Just press submit and continue to the end of this presentation. Yeah, I would like to thank you all that attended. It has been really nice, and we have another webinar starting in minutes, and you can register to that one as well if you're ready for a more advanced level webinar. I believe that Niklas will send you the link in the chat, or maybe he already did that. So yeah, I will go ahead and show my face again. So thank you very much, everyone, again, and I hope to see you on our next webinars. Thank you very much.